Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another series of interviews with the female spiritual leaders. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nushin, and I have a passion for mind, body, spirit connection and union. And inside of this passion, I can see the transformation and the shift in our collective evolution of our consciousness. And there's a lot to talk about. There is a lot to go deeper and dig. And for today's conversation, I have the privilege and honor to have an author, a love and relationship coach, and a spiritual leader, Veronica Lynn Clark. What I love about your heart and in the passion is you bring the spirituality and sexuality together for healing the traumas in our physical body. Welcome.
Thank you. Nushin, thank you so much for having me here too. It's a pleasure to be able to speak to your audience and just to be in your presence, to be back in the dance of us.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Veronica and I, yes, we did Kundalini yoga teacher training many years ago. And we sat in sacred cacao ceremonies and healings and many sessions. So I love what you do. And as I always said, it's a much needed conversation, especially for all the misconception around the spirituality and sexuality and what it is and the connection or misconnection. So I would love for you to just go deeper and enlighten us with what all you do in regard to that field.
Yeah, well, what's coming up for me right now is I want to share that everything that I'm talking about, although of course it affects the greater whole, it affects the collective. I really want to talk about sexuality from a place of self and from personal responsibility and from a place of being able to understand one's sexuality from their own desires, from their own heart. I'm going to pause there for a second. I'm just going to share. So one of the reasons why I even began talking about sexuality in my coaching and in my mentorship and my classes is because I needed to heal my sexuality. And I had a tremendous amount of sexual trauma. And I realized that that what I had done was I kept my sexuality separate from me. I was still able to be very successful in my life, have a lot of fun and do all the wonderful things, had a great life. I have a wonderful life, but there was something that was missing. And every time that I got close to that door of sexuality, whether it was through intimacy in relationships, in my ability to really truly connect with myself and to bring my artist forward, to bring my creative energy forward, there was always some block. There was a lot of doubt. There was a lot of self-judgment. And there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of emotional pain. So I started to do a deep dive into myself, into what do I want? What do I want to experience in life? For my life. This will be the only life that I get to be this version of me. So what do I want? And what came to me is I want to feel my wholeness. I believe all of us are whole. We're whole, but we're separate from that for some reason. And some of that separation is because of the blocks and the wounds that we carry. So the wholeness is always there, but it's covered up, and we see the cracks and we see the broken pieces. And if we focus on those broken pieces, that's what we're going to continue to get more of. So sexuality is such a beautiful place to be able to bring our love and awareness and honor to God, to God force, to the universe, to however it is that you relate, to your spiritual self, your spiritual consciousness. Ignoring our sexuality, undermining it, or continuing to perpetuate the messages that have been passed down to us from generations or from religion or from our families, it continues to keep us separate from ourselves. how can we even as a culture, as a people, how can we heal on a collective level if we cannot bring our love and awareness and our joy and our peaceful eyes to our sexuality and say, I can touch this place with innocence. I can touch this place within me with a desire to free myself from burdens, like to lift it up and elevate our sexuality to the light is what I believe one of the biggest pieces for all of us to have world peace,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to feel our heartbeats as a humanity. Because whatever we keep in the shadows, whatever we can't bring our awareness to, it just continues to become distorted. So I'll pause there because I can just keep going. But
as you mentioned, it's a lot to talk about, and
mm-hmm.
the shame and the guilt, because it's the second chakra. If we want to go,
mm-hmm.
In that conversation, it's all
mm-hmm.
the shame, it's all the guilt, and it's all the burden that we carry, especially us as a women. Mm-hmm. That we are carrying through the generations and ancestors. Yep. And all that. And for me, the sexuality, when I hear the sexuality, is our physicality. How I can enjoy from this body, this physical body, because that's the only way I can experience life.
Yes.
Because beside that, if you take all my senses away, there is nothing to feel and to smell, to see, the touch, everything. So it's this, and being a body worker is just like this physical body. It's sacred. It is part of a spirit. Our soul is residing here, and the moment, as you said, that we are just blocking, shame it, just put it aside. It just has nothing to do with me, and be ashamed of it. It's just like we are not accepting one part of ourselves.
That's right.
We are not complete. However, it is for anybody, whomever, however look, color, version it is. I have no connection. I have no interest in going for that. Just accepting our own physical body and sexuality for whatever it is.
For whatever it is.
Yes.
It's so beautiful. I just got like when you said this body, that's how we get to experience life. It is through this body, through all of our senses and through all of these things. And because of the things that have happened to us in our lives, because of the traumas that we've had, we have learned to mistrust the sensations of our body, and we have learned to disconnect from our body. And so it doesn't always feel safe.
Yes.
It doesn't feel safe. And so this is one of the things that I would offer to anybody who is listening to this, regardless of whatever you have ever gone through or are currently going through in your life, is to try to see, like, first of all, asking the question, what kind of relationship do I want to myself? And what kind of relationship do I want to my sexuality? Like really diving into that and asking those questions. What relationship do I want? Because regardless of any of the programming that we've gone through, regardless of anything, any of the conditioning, any of the messages from the media, any of those things, if what you want is really what you want, and you keep choosing yourself, and you keep choosing you, and you keep choosing your relationship to your sexuality, and you choose to reframe your vision and your awareness and your belief around your sexuality and how it informs your human experience, then you will have breakthroughs. You will have a breakthrough if you keep choosing you, and you keep choosing to elevate your sexuality from the dark trenches of the past, from anything. You will have a breakthrough.
Yes.
There's something else I just wanted to say too, because you're talking about the chakras, and I love talking about the chakras, but we'll just touch on this for a second. is, yeah, the our sacral chakra. This is the second chakra, right? So our first one, our root, which also nobody really wants to talk about because that's where the crap is, right? We don't want to, we don't like to bring so much awareness to that. And so this is so fundamental, right? Having that strong foundation of our root. I'm rooted here. I can be alive here. I'm safe here. I live here on this earth. I live here in my body. And then that next one, moving up into our sacral chakra and our sexuality and our ability to feel our feelings and to feel that they're valid, and also to not be run by our feelings, but to be able to feel them and let them move through. How necessary that is for us to be able to know what we feel so that we can speak our truth, be connected to our sexuality so that we can also tap into our creative, regenerative nature. Also, so that we can have the strength and the courage to live and die over and over and over and rebirth ourselves throughout all the seasons and cycles of our lives. And that is why it is so crucial that we embrace our sexuality, that we embrace every single part of ourselves. That I just want to mention this last piece though, is that this lower triangle, which also encompasses the solar plexus, the lower triangle, the bridge, anahata, is what connects us to the upper triangle. And this is how we bring heaven and earth together. It's through us. How can we, so many people want to live from the upper chakras. They want to bypass the work. And it doesn't work. That's why there's so much anxiety. Because you cannot build a house on something that's shaky and wobbly. It's gonna shake every single time there's turbulence.
Yes.
And there's always turbulence because it's in a collective.
Yes. It's not as stable. Yes.
That's right. So we must work on this lower triangle.
Yes.
We must work on that.
Yes. And, you and I, we did the Kundalini training together. And I always explain to my clients that the energy of the Kundalini, which is a dormant energy, in our sacral, it's first when it's activated, it goes down. Yeah. It goes to the second chakra, and then it needs to find its way and come up all the way to open the consciousness and connect to the heavens or higher consciousness or different higher dimensions. But we as a humanity, we got stuck with the that burst of energy, or that is so powerful that it can create another human being. That's how powerful and creative it is. But we are all stuck there, and we are just like shaming and guilting and don't want to talk about it, don't go there. But it's a force of nature. It's our power in life, how we can activate that Kundalini energy and goes down. But don't be stuck there. Just allow it to open up your heart chakra. Allow it to connect to the higher realm. And that's how I see the spirituality and sexuality connected, and unfortunately the misconception of it. So when you talk about the spirituality, it's just like you put yourself in a box that it's, okay, spirituality, you should be this way. No, spirituality means you are connected to the spirit within.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And there is no box you can put it in there. So I'm just so glad that we get a chance to talk about it, because it's not a common conversation. And unless you go to like a seminar or read a book about it, or even like some Kundalini classes, you don't hear it in every day. That what is it? What's the connection, and what's the misconception of these words, and collapsing them together?
Well, we have to normalize this conversation and not keep them separate. Right? Church and state, like keeping everything separate from sexuality and spirituality. Like it's so important that we do that, that we be able to bring honor and recognition, even if it's if someone is making their way back towards their sexuality, then to understand, like to do it in a slow way of saying, this is a part of me. This is a part of my body. This is a part of my, this is a part of who I am. So if I am a spiritual being and I I am open to life, then I am also open to all parts of me.
Yes.
So it's a lot of reframing. You mentioned something also that made me think of something else in it, and I just kind of lost my train of thought on it. But ultimately, bringing the conversation back to our sexuality is so key to our liberation.
Yes.
Not to stay stuck on sexuality, though. That was the part. Not to stay stuck on it, because even myself, I was like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm a sex coach now. I'm like, I'm going to help people do this, you know. But the ego can so easily get attached to awarenesses and say, this is where I'm hanging my hat. This is what I'm doing now. And so for a little while, when I began working with sexuality, I was like, oh, I understand now. I got it. And I kind of ended up stopping there for a moment. But again, that's my ego. I had some clarity and some awareness around some things, but I had to find my way to move through and up.
Yes.
Move up to the heart, move all the way up. What does this mean in reestablishing my own power center? How do I use my sexuality to feel more grounded in myself, not using sexuality as far as for manipulation, or using sexuality in some ways? Because I think that's something that confuses people, is that, what do I do with this sexuality? What is this? What do I do with this? Mm-hmm. And so it's really about harnessing, understanding, and learning how to harness the energy of your kundalini, of your life force energy, mm-hmm. seeing the magic and the beauty of it, and moving that energy up and choosing to continue to use it to grow and elevate and expand yourself. And it's not getting hung up on one chakra or another, or staying in one place or another. I'm only going to stay in my heart, or I only want to stay in my third eye. I only want to stay in, just above every, no. Yes. And just letting that energy continue to move through you, mm-hmm. Yes. When we do that, our life opens up and blossoms in ways that we could have never imagined before. Yes. Especially if we are, especially if we're just hooked on goal orientation, or we want to just achieve something specific. Mm-hmm. This is when we unite our sexuality and our spirituality, it's really about uniting heaven and earth. Yes. It's uniting it all. Yes. Yeah.
You said something I want to touch on, that you said, normalize this conversation. Mm-hmm. So inside of that's where we are right now, having this conversation and normalizing this conversation. What are your offerings? Because I know you do a lot of different workshops and ceremonies regarding that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you call it the Body Temple.
I do. Yes.
So if you would just let us know, what are your expertise inside of those workshops?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about Body Temple. Body Temple is so beautiful, and it's for women. It's women only, and it's a very it's a very intimate space. We work with touch and connection, with being able to come back to, what does it feel like to be touched? What does it feel like to what is safe touch? What is sexual expression when I'm in consent? What is it when I feel safe? So we really explore a lot of different layers of sexuality, of sensuality, of connection. We also give voice to the things that we have never been able to speak about. Mm-hmm. So to be able to say the unsayable, speak the unspeakable, and I teach tools on how to move stuck or trapped energy that are blocking the sexual chakra. And then, of course, I can't talk about just one chakra without talking about all of them. So also the root, yes. Right? Yes. So we touch on all of those things, and it's fun, and we dance, and we and we really practice being in our bodies and trying on new ways of being, and also exploring our relationships with other women. Women in our lives, our mothers, our relationships with our mothers, those can have such a big impact on how we view friendships and other women. And so we really explore a lot of different dynamics amidst the feminine. But one of the other things that I love too about Body Temple is that we also talk about our own personal core values and personal responsibility, and how we want to move as women in the world, how we want to contribute as leaders in our business or in the world or in our families and our communities.
Yes.
And what does that mean to be, just like an integritous, heart-centered woman who is in her power, from a balanced place of power, and not needing to have any manipulation or power over, but really being integrated.
And one thing I see over and over working with my clients is they're having the healthy boundaries, because a lot of us, we love that, or we don't know where to draw the line. And either we are just the other side of the line, just everybody's welcome, or just like, the other side of the line, just, closed off. So where is the healthy boundaries? That's another thing that I think it's very, very important to know, that having the boundaries, it's the greatest spiritual practice in any area.
Absolutely. I work with boundaries in every single workshop, whether it's Body Temple, Inner Intimacy, couples workshops, every single one of my workshops that I offer, I always work with boundaries, because if there's no boundaries, there's no safety. If there's no safety, there's no intimacy. If there's no intimacy, we're not having connection. So like, we have to know what the boundaries are. So that is something that we work with in depth, I would say, from the physical boundaries to verbal, what are and energy boundaries.
Yes.
So a lot of the work that I do is I work with the energy. So it's a very energy based. It's body based, sensual based as well. But yeah, and it's a very spiritual base. So that's one of the things that's very different for Body Temple, I think, than some of the other trainings and things that may be out there, is that for me, it's spirit first. So we're working with spirit and with energy, and really being able to find that alignment. And then also, once we have that connection, to be able to come back into the body and to work with the body and the sensations, and then also verbalizing all that you are experiencing throughout that process.
Yes, and as you said, it's just all the same, same system in the chakras, the fifth chakra and the vision, or the second, the pleasure of life, and all of that. Yes.
Yes.
I can go on and on and on, and I can.
Me too.
Talk to you for hours, but I hear recently you published your book. Congratulations.
I did. Here it is. I'm so excited. Yeah, so this book is called To Be Aligned, and it is getting clear on your higher purpose. And I was excited to lead with this book. I actually have a couple of other ones that I will be publishing this year, but I was excited to lead with this one because we all have a higher purpose. And so it's like, let's figure out what's getting in our way. Let's figure out what those blocks are, so we can acknowledge them, do something about them, and shift them, and move on to having this incredible life, because we deserve it.
Yes.
This is what we get. This is our life. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy.
The only one so far.
Yes. In this body. I like to say the only one in this body, right? There may be other versions, but in this body.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
And as I always say, that there are a lot of spiritual gifts that even we don't know. And until we tap into it and want it to go and stop working, just the routine dictated life, that this is how the life should be, and the life that we are designer for ourselves, that we
are.
And there's so many versions of it, and not is better than the other one. It's just what's my version of life.
That's right. Absolutely. In this book, actually, in To Be Aligned, I actually take people through a lot of these questions. I have writing rituals. So finding your purpose and also being able to uncover what your gifts are. What I like to share is that our purpose is often directly connected to the difficulties and the challenges that we have had in life. So, so when we look at the most painful things in our life, the things that we are ashamed to even speak about oftentimes because maybe we think, I'm damaged, I'm broken, nobody can relate to this. This is so terrible. I'm ashamed of this. There's usually our purpose is somehow connected to that.
Yes.
And so I talk a lot about that and ask a lot of questions, provide some different steps to be able to ask yourself and uncover the gifts for yourself. Because you're right, each of us has such a unique path. And there's no one way for everybody. There's no one template, but there's some guiding blocks that can help us. So I'm really excited about this book. People can get this book on Amazon. Also, it's available right now on Kindle, and then this weekend it'll be available hard copy and also the paperback. But it's wonderful. I also talk about energy and gratitude.
Yes.
And all kinds of things. And rewriting your story. Mm-hmm. So
yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
And we're just gonna put all that information when the video becomes available for everybody to watch. Okay. And then I'm just gonna put all what you do, and you do a lot. I know you do a lot. So we are just like touching on the surface of your workshops or the book or the other, so many. What else do you? I know you're modeling, so it's just
Well, I like to do that for fun. So the things that I do, what I do for my business is centered around helping people to find joy out of their darkness.
Yes.
Right. So most of the people that I work with have experienced a lot of life, ups and downs, heartaches, death, trauma of all kinds of things, sexual trauma, divorces, breakdowns. So these are individuals who have gone through a lot and are ready to rebuild themselves and want to find the joy and want to find the hope in that. So I that's what I do primarily. And I do that in different ways. I also work with people who are in recovery, but that's the same thing that I do. It's all about finding a way out of the darkness by connecting to the inner light and trusting that inner light. So that's what I help people to do. And for fun, I get to act and model. And I was like, yeah, because I get to just do that for myself. Like, it's just so much fun. I just get to show up. I just love it. And I always wanted to do it. I wanted to do it since I was a little girl. So, but this other work that I do is like, it's my purpose. Mm-hmm. This is what I do. Yes. There's always hope. There's always light. And it's a matter of being able to attune ourselves, to that light here and keep looking it for out there and keep going.
Yes. And you mentioned something also, I want to touch on that, the darkness, there's always contains some light. And until we go through that, the darkness, deep dark, that, bad, we don't want to even look at it or talk about it, there's some light in it. And until we go and, really, really look at it, and then we can just open up the light and let's open up our own path. It's not for anybody. It's just for our own life path. But
that's right.
The deepest, the darkest is the brighter the light. I always say that.
It's in my experience in working with all the different populations and the different groups of people, that has also been my truth. That's my experience. And again, now that we're talking about these things too, and we're talking about the root and our life experiences growing up and all the things that may have happened growing up between 0 to 7, that root chakra, and then the sexual energy, all of that, and how that even connects to our power and where we stand in life and who has power over us and how do we see this lower chakra, these lower triangle. This is what I work with so much too. And I see so many people and they bring a lot of their shame and they bring a lot of pain. And there's so much despair. People are carrying so much despair and this hopelessness, and a lot of people cover it up, with the smiles and wanting it to be better, wanting it to be, but not necessarily knowing how to.
Yes.
And again, that's why we dive into
yes.
these lower parts to find that bright light.
Yes. And just a very short example from my own life, it was, I always complained that, I was grow up with a mother that she was so controlling. I was not allowed to do many things that I wanted to do. And not knowing that growing up that way, it was giving me, I can see the lights for it. It just, for me, was, I'm a very disciplined woman. So that, created me as to have discipline for all that control, and then also become a conduit for freedom. So I cherish freedom. I fight for freedom. Why? Because the way I was growing up. And then it, and nobody else might understand that. But for me, it's just like, I want a freedom of time. I want a freedom of money. I want a freedom from all boxes that puts me that, you are this, you are that. No, I'm a free soul. And as long as I'm aligned with myself and I'm not, disrespecting or interfering with other people's, I'm free for myself. And that's, made me to really fight for that. So that's, the dark side of it. I was just like, I always complain about that. And then when I looked at the light side of it, it's just, wow, I'm so grateful for that.
There are always gifts in the darkness.
Yes.
There are gifts that have even come from our trauma. And that is it's a matter of being able to change the way that you are seeing things, because that is going to help to change one's life.
Yes.
It's so simple, but it's not easy. And it definitely requires discipline. I like to just say that word discipline comes from that word disciple, which is to be a disciple, right, of oneself, to be a student, to be able to learn and be able to master oneself.
Yes.
What an honor to be able to do that, to discover who you truly are as an individual, who embodies, what is this spirit, the soul that embodies,
yes,
this,
yes,
or that is within this body.
I always say I'm the queen of this land.
Yes, you are. I love it. Yes.
So my dear, I cannot stop talking to you because it just goes deeper and deeper and more delicious. And with the respect to your time and the time that other people are gonna listen to this video, is there anything else you would like to add to our conversation?
Just keep your light on. Just keep shining bright. Trust.
Yes.
Trust that you're on the right path.
Always.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything will always work its way out.
Yes. So, I always, when I'm not aligned, I always have this mantra that I say, everybody is exactly where they're supposed to be. We all are doing what exactly we're supposed to do. So I trust in that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Me too. And join you in that. Thank you. And thank you, sis.
We're going to come back with the conversation and another book.
Yes.
Thanks again. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.